Honestly, I expected anything from Samsung, but I have to say, the Galaxy S26 Pro really surprised me. And not only that, I want to say that this is definitely one of the most interesting upcoming smartphones. And it's not just about the new technologies and awesome specs, which won't give a chance to either the top iPhones or Xiaomi. Because the Galaxy S26 Pro clearly shows us that Samsung has finally learned from all its mistakes and is ready to show all its competitors their place. Anyway, let's not waste any time, because this video really turned out to be interesting. Subscribe if you still haven't yet. Although I'm sure everyone has already subscribed long ago. Well, if for some reason you haven't subscribed yet, subscribe, hit like, let's go. By the way, you often ask me which smartphone you should buy. And I can tell you, it's truly not that easy to answer which specific smartphone is right for you. You really need to figure it out for yourself. And that's precisely why Rizik and I have created a helpful Telegram bot where you simply answer a few quick questions, and then Rizik and I will carefully pick the perfect smartphone just for you. It's as easy as pie. You don't have to torture yourself watching a million reviews. You just answer the questions, and Rizik and I will pick the perfect smartphone just for you and within your budget. That's it. So what are we sitting here waiting for? Seriously, how could it get any easier? You could spend 5 years struggling, or just answer the questions and enjoy your smartphone for 5 years. The link will be in the description of this video. Don't waste any time, go check it out. He's looking at me. And perhaps this particular piece of information will genuinely upset some individuals and even make you feel like an incredibly old geek who's slowly turning to dust. But the current and impressive Galaxy S lineup was actually formed a full 5 years ago. So, since 2020, Samsung has been releasing the base Galaxy S20, S20 Plus, and also the Galaxy S20 Ultra. But this year, these South Korean tech masterminds, let's put it that way, have decisively decided that this flagship series is in for a truly major overhaul. And it's going to be even more drastic and significant than many of us had originally thought. After all, at first insiders said that Samsung would retire only the Plus version of the smartphones and replace it with the Galaxy S26 Edge. But now we've learned that the base model will also be taking a well-deserved break. This isn't just some wild insider speculation anymore. Journalists have actually found solid evidence to back this up. Oh, and by the way, don't forget that by subscribing to our Telegram channel, The Box, you'll find the most interesting news from the world of technology. Yet. The link is in the description. So, Android Authority dug into the One UI 8 code and found a real treasure there. And not many people know this, but the Galaxy S24 lineup had the codename Eureka. And the standard, Plus, and Ultra versions of the smartphones were labeled as E1, E2, and E3. At the same time, the Galaxy S25 was called Paradigm, and the smartphones were labeled as PA1, PA2, and PA3. So, initially, insiders said that the Galaxy S26 series smartphones are labeled as NT. Like, as in supposedly next paradigm, meaning new paradigm. Kind of hinting that this would be a logical continuation of the previous lineup. But suddenly, logic went out the window, and in the One UI 8 code, the new flagships are labeled completely differently, which points to major changes in the approach to smartphones. So, for example, under the code name M1 hides the Galaxy S26 Pro, M2 is the S26 Edge, and M3 is the S26 Ultra. And at first glance, of course, it seems like there's nothing interesting about this. After all, companies are always changing smartphone names for the sake of marketing. But still, this isn't one of those cases. And the release of the Galaxy S26 smartphone, just so you understand, will literally split the series into before and after. The thing is, the old approach that Samsung came up with for the Galaxy S20 lineup just doesn't work anymore. Because if you wanted, for example, to get the best cameras, the highest quality display, and as much memory as possible, what did you have to do? You had to buy the Ultra. Now, overall, that's not a problem for those who, for example, like big smartphones, like those XXL-sized ones. But what about those people who genuinely prefer more compact phones? Actually, Apple brilliantly solved this particular problem a long time ago, and more recently, Google has also successfully figured it out too. And for example, the Pixel 9 Pro and Pixel 9 Pro XL offer the same cameras, displays, and the same memory options. The only difference is the display size and the battery. And basically, it's exactly the same with the iPhone 16 Pro and iPhone 16 Pro Max. So essentially, if someone wants a flagship from Google or Apple, they can just pick the size that suits them. Let's put it that way. At the same time, Samsung never offered this kind of option, which is why they lost a large portion of potential buyers for whom size really matters. After all, hardly anyone wants to sacrifice, say, camera quality or performance just because they're buying a compact smartphone. And now, the Galaxy S26 lineup will finally give users exactly this kind of choice. So, basically, they'll be able to get themselves a compact smartphone, but with top-of-the-line specs. But what if you want to get, say, an affordable smartphone with flagship specs? What should you do? That's right, you definitely need to subscribe to our YouTube channel. Because Ruzik and I regularly talk about the very best and most cost-effective models. So, overall, the Galaxy S26 Pro differs from the base version not just in name, of course. It's going to be a compact smartphone, but at the same time, it'll offer top-tier specs with absolutely no compromises. And now you're about to find out what exactly makes this smartphone truly impressive. And this new vision from Samsung will be reflected not just in the specs of their smartphones, but also in the design, which, you could say, will become even more premium. Yeah, I agree that, of course, when it comes to flagships, that might sound a bit odd, but you'll understand everything in a moment. Just hang on. So, Ice Universe, the guy who's been annoying Samsung for ages with his accurate leaks, he showed what the Galaxy S26 Ultra will look like. No, of course, not the Galaxy S26 Pro. But usually, how does it go? Usually, the whole lineup is made in a single, unified style, so you'll still have a general idea of what the Pro version will look like. You know what I was thinking? You're like IS Universe to me. A reliable insider? No. You're just as annoying. Seriously, you're incredibly annoying. Well, first of all, Samsung is going to change the main camera module. If before, for example, there were separate cutouts for each lens, now they'll all have to come together on a special vertical platform and somehow try to coexist there. So now, Galaxy S smartphones will look even more like the more expensive Galaxy Fold 7, which, you could say, emphasizes their premium feel. And by the way, the cameras will change too, and not just on one model, but across the entire lineup. But let's talk about that a bit later. Secondly, Samsung has finally decided to use advanced silicon carbon batteries in their latest smartphones. And for those who might have completely forgotten, let me gently remind you that these innovative kinds of batteries can store significantly more energy while still keeping the exact same compact size. So companies can either, for example, significantly increase the overall battery capacity without making the device noticeably bigger, or they can make the smartphones much, much thinner. And basically, Samsung ultimately decided to kill two birds with one stone, slightly increase the battery capacity, and also slightly reduce the overall thickness of their smartphones. Though honestly, you probably won't notice it without a ruler. After all, the Galaxy S26 Pro is rumored to be just under 7mm thick, while the current Galaxy S25 is 7.2mm thick. And as for the Galaxy S26 Ultra, it will slim down from 8.2mm to exactly 8mm. By the way, I can also kill two birds with one stone. I know, Ruzik. That's exactly why you're not allowed in zoos with a traumatic gun anymore. Who would even think of something like that, huh? As for the display, it's going to get a little bit bigger. For example, if the current Galaxy S25 offers a 6.2-inch screen, its successor, the Galaxy S26 Pro, will get a 6.27-inch display. Yeah, the difference is small, and most likely just comes down to thinner bezels around the edges. So in the end, the phone itself will remain just as compact. On top of that, Samsung has also developed a new type of display that will allow them to increase the phone's battery life while also making it thinner. So, the new display is called Color on Emitter. Its key feature is that in this kind of panel, the color filter is integrated directly into the light-emitting layer. As a result, this should provide improved color accuracy and brightness, and of course, reduce power consumption. But for now, for example, it's still unclear how generous Samsung will be with this technology. After all, on the one hand, it would make sense to put this kind of screen in all Galaxy S26 models, right? But on the other hand, you know how the Koreans are. They might get quite stingy and only put it in the premium Galaxy S26 Ultra. And finally, the very last episode of the long-running series, which processor will they put in this new Samsung device, has come out, revealing the main secret about the upcoming Galaxy S26 Pro. But first, here's a useful tip. If you truly don't want to spend the entire day looking like you've been eating sour lemons for a whole week and then chasing them down with tart limes, what exactly should you do? That's right. You need to charge your favorite gadget the night before. And that's it. Then, on your way to work, what will you be doing? Enjoying the content Rosic and I make? Instead of staring at the bald back of the head of the person in front of you, what's my head got to do with it? What? There aren't enough bald heads around. That's enough already. No need to thank me. Subscribe. Why did you take out your phone? I wasn't talking to you. I'm telling them. Subscribe. All right, let's continue. Well, I'm sure you all understand that, of course, Samsung isn't going to make every smartphone in the Galaxy S26 lineup equally awesome. If you could just have whatever you wanted, then who would buy the most expensive Ultra? Who? The director of Samsung? And for a long time, we didn't really know which processor would end up in the Galaxy S26 Pro. But just the other day, Samsung gave a pretty big hint about the hardware of the upcoming smartphone. And if you were hoping to see the Snapdragon 8 or 2 in the flagship Samsung, then congratulations, you'll see it there. But honestly, do you know how much you'll have to shell out? $1,300 for the S26 Ultra. Because what processor will the Galaxy S26 Pro get? That's right, the Exynos 2600. But still, I strongly recommend you put out your torches and put the pitchforks away. Why, you ask? Well, because Samsung has taken into account the issues of previous generations. This time, they might actually come up with a competitive chip. I really want to believe that. I even want to knock on wood. Hey, Rosic, come here. No, I won't touch you. Just come here. Can you tilt your head down a little like this? And, for example, recently Samsung announced that this Exynos 2600 will actually be the world's first processor using the 2nm GAA process. So overall, it should consume much less power and consequently also generate less heat. Moreover, Samsung has also directly improved the processor's cooling. And according to insiders, they've added a heat transfer block directly onto the processor itself, which will work kind of like a radiator, so to speak, and will dissipate heat more efficiently. Thanks to this, the processor will be able to deliver maximum performance for a long time, without throttling. But the Galaxy S26 Pro won't be the powerful smartphone, because according to leaks, the Exynos 2600 scores 7,700 in a Geekbench multi-core test, and 2,100 in the single-core test. At the same time, the upcoming Snapdragon 8 Elite 2 shows a result of 11,000 points in the multi-core test and 4,000 points in the single-core test. So you could say that the Exynos 2600 will actually be closer to the current one, which is just the Snapdragon 8 Elite, which overall isn't that bad either. By the way, not so long ago, the results of the Exynos 2600 in the 3D Mark Graphics test were leaked. And there, the smartphone with this processor scored 3,100 points, which, for a second, is 15% more than the Snapdragon 8 Elite. So, basically, the Galaxy S26 Pro isn't going to break any power records, like Cristiano Ronaldo did at his, what is he now? 73 or however old he is. But honestly, it doesn't really need to. Because even this level of power is enough for all your everyday tasks, including heavy games. And if you need more than that, well, I don't know. Let me know in the comments why you would need that. And while the significant improvements in overall performance might be quite obvious and truly significant when it comes to the battery, well, you simply can't really say the same about the battery. Because, according to reliable insiders, the upcoming Galaxy S26 Pro will reportedly have a 4,300 mAh battery. So, basically, that's 300 mAh more than the Galaxy S25. But still, considering the more energy-efficient display and a less power-hungry processor, we might actually see a decent boost in battery life. And on top of that, the Galaxy S26 Pro might finally get the long-awaited upgrade in charging speed. Yes, up to 45 watts. But the most unexpected improvement will, of course, affect the main camera module. After all, starting with the Galaxy S23 lineup, Samsung has been using the same ISOCELL GN3 sensor with 50 megapixels. I mean, overall, it does its job, it really does. But to be fair, it's definitely time for it to retire. And so, according to insiders, the Galaxy S26 Pro will get a newer ISOCELL GN5. And even though it still has the same 50 megapixel resolution, it now has improved autofocus and better light gathering. So the Galaxy S26 Pro will literally take sharper and brighter photos. But at the same time, for example, nothing is known yet about the fate of the ultra-wide and telephoto cameras. Nevertheless, for instance, insiders say that the Galaxy S26 Edge will get a new 50 megapixel ultra-wide camera. So it's possible it will also make its way into the Pro version to, as they say, boost its status. But how things will actually turn out, we'll find out with you pretty soon. Well, not that soon, but soon enough. You know how time flies, so soon means March at the presentation. So make sure to subscribe to our channel so you don't miss the presentation. Or are you going to subscribe before March? Will you subscribe? Oh, you've already subscribed? Good job. And of course, make sure to check out these videos too, because they're not just useful, but also fun and interesting. And most importantly, remember, where's all the cooler stuff? That's right, in the box. Hey, Rosia, are you subscribed to our channel? Huh? Can you show me? Because I have a feeling you're just pulling my leg here. Come on, show me. Who are you subscribed to? Oh. You actually went and subscribed to a competing channel. How could you even do that? And you even tell me about it like you're proud of it.